Weird. Should we get these people?
Morning, Sam.
Morning, Stephen. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for your help the other day.
Yeah, no problem.
Really appreciate it.
Anytime. Just gonna give a couple minutes to let people come into the room.
It seems like every time I take this class, every week, I learn something.
Well, it's also because there's different people and people are asking different questions every week too.
Yeah, it helps a great deal. Yeah. How's the unpacking going?
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. Little by little.
I see the boxes in the background.
Oh, this is my office.
Oh.
This is where that you're looking at Jen's corkboard back there.
Oh. I see the in the mirror. Oh, I see. I'm looking out the window in the door, correct?
This is behind me is my door. Yeah, this is the glass
Oh, it looks
door.
like it looks like a stack of boxes. Yeah.
It does kind of look like a stack of boxes. I think it's just the way the ceiling tiles and the cabinets and stuff are out there.
Yeah, that's funny.
Give it another minute, see if anybody else is going to join this.
Sam,
Yes?
good morning. This is Jackie.
Hi, Jackie.
How are you? Is this class takes place every Tuesday, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, every Tuesday, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
It rotates between me and Adonis, who teach it, but it's the same class.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't cry, Sam.
I think I have allergies.
Yeah, I think I might too, man.
So. All right, I guess I can go ahead and start. People keep coming in. Let me go and start sharing my screen. Okay. So the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Chrome if you have Chrome as your browser. If not, Firefox works fine, but you want to go into an incognito or a private browsing window. That's where command works the best. So then you're just going to go to agent.kw.com. And you're going to log in with your MyKW login information, the same information you would have used for your MyKW site. So once you log in, you'll be on this screen. Is anybody that's on this call, does everybody have at least one contact in command? Does everybody know how to put a contact in command? If anybody doesn't speak now, because I'm going to skip that part if everybody knows how to do it already. Okay, I'm going to say we are good. So I'm going to assume everyone's got a contact in here. So once you have a contact in your database, to go to opportunities, you're going to click on the little handshake icon on the left-hand side. That's your opportunities dashboard. So you click it. It's going to bring you to the opportunities section. And I'm going to accept the cookies because who doesn't love cookies? And in order to create an opportunity, you're going to use the blue Create Opportunity button towards the top right of the dashboard. So you're going to click that and a box is going to pop up. And you're going to fill out some basic information about the opportunity. The first box here, Market Center, that's most likely not going to change for any of you. It's going to default to whatever market center you are in, whether that be Stanford or Ridgefield. Most likely won't have the option to change that. If you are on a team, you will have the option to select the team here. I'm not on a team, so it just stays grayed out for me. And the owner of the opportunity, this is always going to be you. So this is owner of the opportunity, not owner of the property in question. Opportunity type, this is where you select whether this is a listing you are having, whether you have a buyer representing a landlord or representing a tenant. And whichever option you choose here will determine which documents later on it says are required for you to submit to the office. So you want to make sure you select the right thing. If you're doing a rental listing, you want to select landlord and not listing. For now, we're just going to do a buyer. And then under clients, you can click into the box and you can start typing out one of your contacts' names, whoever your client is, and it will start to autofill it from your database. So I'm just going to use Crash Bandicoot. If you have a second, you have to have a co-buyer or a co-seller, they also would need to be a contact, and you would add them here just like you did with the initial client box. The opportunity name, which is the next box down, that always defaults to the client's name dash the opportunity type. So Crash Bandicoot dash buyer. You can change this to whatever you like, however you run the business. Some people like to use client names, some people like to use property addresses. In the office, we prefer property addresses, but you can put whatever you want for this section here. I'm just going to leave that as is. And then down here, the budget box is representative of whatever your client's budget is. Since I'm on the buy side, it's got budget. If this was listing, this I think would say the price of the property instead, and you would enter that information. So maybe your client's budget is $500,000, and this information can be edited in the future if you need to. And then the only other thing that's required here is the commission rate. And this is just your commission rate. So 2.5, that's the standard in our area. And these, the opportunity phase and the opportunity stage, these are more for you as the agent to kind of categorize where your transaction is at. So they give you some basic phases and stages. You can change this maybe to active, you're actively with this client. And then once you change phase, the stage will change. What options it gives you, searching, showing, your negotiations, and you can always change and update these later as your transaction progresses. So once you're done there, you want to click create, and it will create your opportunity. And this is the dashboard for that particular opportunity. You can see it's got the name of my opportunity here, Crash Bandicoot dash buyer. This little red house symbol, the red means that it is a buyer, the green will be for listing, and purple will be for rentals, regardless of which side you're on. Legacy. So the legacy, O'Brien, is for, it's supposed to be for loops. So we were using .loop before, we were using DocuSign and Command. So it's supposed to be for loops that were brought over that were kind of finished transactions. I'm not sure if the import is fully functional or not, but that was initially what they told us the legacy was for. So it was old closed loops that you would transfer over to Command. So you probably won't need to use the legacy stage at all as an agent starting now who didn't have old loops in our office. So when you are here on the opportunity page, you're going to start in the details page. And it's got some basic details here. And here you see the property box and it's blank. This is where you should add in the property address in question. So you use the little pencil to the right of property. And then you can search for a property or whatever property is being purchased or being sold if you're on the listing side. So I'm going to use my old house, Norwalk, my parents' old house. So once you enter the property and you click it, it autofills in the country, the town, state, county, zip code. The only thing that you might need to add in is a apartment number or a suite number or something like that. In which case you would just manually add that here. And then click save and it will update the information here. Once you've updated the property information, the next thing you're going to need to do is go to the Documents tab up here. So click on that. And it is going to give you a sort of a checklist of documents that you may need for the particular transaction type you selected. So we selected representing a buyer. So the documents it has here are exclusive right to represent, in which case it says it's required, agency explanation disclosure, required, home warranty, accept decline, required, et cetera, et cetera. And this here is in the consultation folder. So you can see up here it says consultation. And these are the 3 folders you have on the left-hand side. You've got consultation, under contract, and closed. So if you then move to the under contract folder, you will see documents that you would need both sides of the transaction to sign. So in this case, the purchase agreement or the contract. You need signatures from your buyers and your sellers. Same thing with your disclosures, your property disclosures, your lead disclosures. These are things that you would generally need once you have an accepted offer on a transaction. And then the closed folder is mostly for MCA use for us in the office. You don't need to add anything to this. This is for us where we will add a copy of your green sheet, a copy of your invoice, and a copy of your DA, your disbursement authorization, which has like a copy of your check in it. So you have your documents here, but you need to get them signed. So in order to get them signed, you have to go to DocuSign. So in order to get to DocuSign your opportunity, you need to go to, hold on. Thank you. Sorry about that. And you just go to the Start a Transaction button towards the top right. So click that. And if you have not logged into DocuSign yet, it's going to ask you to log in with whatever email and password you used in order to set up DocuSign in our office. If you have a pop-up blocker on your browser, this may not open up from command in the DocuSign tab. You may just be stuck here, and you may need to disable your pop-up blocker on your browser for the command and DocuSign so that it will allow DocuSign to open, just in case you're having trouble once you click the Start a Transaction button. So once you have logged in, it will bring you to your DocuSign room. This specific room is attached to the opportunity that I created. As you can see, they have the same name, Chris Crash Bandicoot-Buyer. So these two will talk to each other. The room will talk to that particular command opportunity. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you get into DocuSign is go over to the Details tab here on the left. And this is where you're going to add information about the property and the people involved in the transaction. So in order to make any changes to this page, you're going to need to click the Edit button towards the top right, and it will open up boxes for you to add information here. So the most important areas that need to be filled in are the location box here, which is where you should put in the property address. So can just add the property address here. 06854. You don't need to put in the property type and the year built and the circumstances, just the basic property information. You can add the county too. And what you also want to add in are the people involved in the transaction, which are all on this right-hand column. So you can see this first one says seller 1. You've got a box for seller 2, for listing agent. They give you 2 spots for 2 different listing agents. As you can see here, the buyer, it automatically pulled in my client's name, so it put them there. It put the phone number that I had on file for them. Had I had an address in there for my contact, it would have also pulled their address into these boxes as well. So the more information you add in command, the more information will pull over here.
Excuse me, and
Yes.
Address 1 would be their home address, their current home address?
Yes, this would be the address of the client, yes, currently.
Okay.
So if it's a buyer, it's wherever they're currently living
Thank you.
before they purchase the property. And then if you scroll down further, I don't have a second buyer, but under buyer agent 1, since this was a purchase side, buyer side transaction, it added me as the agent, as buyer agent 1, since this is my opportunity. It adds in the company's phone number, it adds in the email, company name, address. Looks like it just fills in the street address. You may just need to just add in the city, and then makes you pick the country. If you don't pick country, it won't unlock the state box. Connecticut, 905. So I'm just going to go back up and add in a seller to this real quick. Our seller will be Spyro the Dragon, since I have Crash Bandicoot as the buyer. And I'm just going to put in his name for now. You would want to fill out all this information, but just for time purposes, I'm just going to fill out a small amount of information. Once you are done with filling out the detail section, you have to make sure you click the save button at the bottom. Don't just try and jump to another tab, because it will not save any of your information and you'll have to re-enter it again. So just always remember to click save when you're done. And you can come back to this page as many times as you need to edit information. Especially maybe if you just started having a listing, you may not have a buyer on the other side yet, so you may not be able to put a buyer in the buyer section. You can always come back and add that information later. So once you've added the information here to your details page, you want to go back to your documents tab, which is right next to details. And you want to start adding documents to this room. So in order to add documents, you are going to use the plus add button here towards the top right, and it's going to give you a drop down, and you're going to want to select the one that says DocuSign Forms. Now, if you're just uploading maybe a document, a PDF from your computer, you would just select the computer option, but in order to pick the ones that are fillable forms, you want to pick DocuSign Forms. So you select that, you will have a box pop up here. If it's your first time clicking it, your box may ask you to select a provider and enter your NRDS number. You don't need to do that. There should be an option towards the bottom right to skip it. It says something like proceed without validation. You can just select that and it should bring you to this page. And you won't need to enter your NRDS, because we don't need the NRDS ID in order to access our forms from the MLS. So once you are here, if you skip the first drop down for the time being and you go to select library, and you select the drop down, it will categorize the documents based on the MLS that they belong to. So in this case, this is Hudson Gateway forms. KW612 is our office's proprietary forms that don't belong to any specific MLS. New York State Association Realtor forms, and Smart MLS forms. So you would be able to select one of these and then find all the forms that we have under each of those categories, whether it's New York, HCAR, Smart, etc. However, if you change the first drop down that says DocuSign Forms Library to DocuSign Forms Group, and then select the second dropdown, it now categorizes the documents into transaction types. So these are buyer docs, landlord docs, these are listing docs, and these are tenant docs. So the documents that you would need for a particular transaction, you'll be able to just select a folder and all those documents should appear for you rather than searching through smart MLS forms and our forms, etc. You should just be able to select this, and it'll give you a list of the forms that you may need when you're on the buy side of a transaction. And so in order to select forms, you're just going to go to the left here and check off whichever forms you want to add. So I'm going to add in a purchase agreement, let's say. We're going to add an exclusive right. And let's say we're going to add an agency disclosure, just some basic documents for the time being. So once you have the ones you want selected, just click the add button and it will add them to your room.
Sam,
Yes.
can you show us how to add the wire fraud and the health disclosure to this?
Sure, that's actually in a separate area. So that's going to be through the shared template. So I'll go over that one afterwards.
Great, thank you.
So let me just finish going through this first. So here we have all three of these documents that I added. Agency
Sam,
disclosure. Yes.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
These are the three initial documents that we have to put in an envelope to send to the buyer?
I just picked out 3 documents.
Okay.
The agency explanation disclosure and the exclusive right for sure are 2 of the first documents you're going to want to send to your client, because those are just the representation documents.
Yeah.
But you can select any number of documents and add any documents you want to an envelope.
Okay.
So I just happened to pick these 3 for a buyer side transaction.
Okay, thank you.
So on these documents, there may be things that you need to edit on them, on the actual document itself, like on the purchase agreement. So in order to do that, you just click on the document here and it's going to open it up. So here I have the document, and as you can see, it actually pulled some of the information from the detail section for me. So my seller, Spiral the Dragon, and my buyer, my client, Crash Bandicoot, and the property in question that they are purchasing. If you had added, which I did not add, the address for the seller, the current address, and the current address of the buyer, those would also pre-populate in these boxes for you. If you forgot to put them in and you just want to add them now, you can type in any of these boxes and you can put whatever you need to. Things like the date, you're just going to have to add, today's date. So you can edit any of these boxes here. Excuse me, the extra items, the areas about the price and the escrow, etc. All that stuff you can add in here. And then here you can see the names. Again, they auto pulled. It pulled my information here, my name, my company information. It would also pull listing agent and listing brokerage information here. And you can add attorney information if you so please down here. And then once you're done with editing the document how you need it, you're just going to click Save and Close. And you can move on to the next document. Same thing goes for things like the exclusive right. You can just click on it, open it, and edit anything that you may need to edit on it. And this is not the area where you're going to get signatures, so don't worry that any of the boxes for signatures don't have You know, there's nothing here in initials to be filled out. There's nothing here on the buyer's signature or the agent's signature boxes. That happens in the next step. So you don't need to worry about that right now. So once you've just edited everything you need to.
Sam,
Yes?
the address that you have to put for the buyer at the end of the document is the last document that you showed is the address that he's living now, or the other, or the address of the house he's going to purchase.
Hold on, let me just reopen the document, sorry. It should be, if it's under the buyer's name, it would be his current address. I just want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. Signature, yeah, so this would be where your buyer currently resides, not the property that they're purchasing. The property that they're purchasing, it's just not applicable for this document. It's just where they're currently residing.
Okay, thank you.
X that out. There's nothing to edit on an agency disclosure. It's all signatures. So once you've edited the documents the way you need to, and you need to get them signed, you can go ahead and hover over the document, and you'll see this little bubble here, and you can check it. And you can select all the documents that you want to send at one time to your client or to whoever needs to sign the documents. So once you've selected the documents, you can go up to this bar here and click the little pen icon that says DocuSign, and it's going to put these documents in an envelope for you. And an envelope is just what DocuSign, the terminology DocuSign uses for sending out documents. You're going to put all the documents in an envelope and send that envelope to your client or to whoever needs to sign them. So it brings you here to the envelope details page. The envelope name, we suggest you change this to show whatever documents you are sending. So maybe we're just sending representation documents. Docs and purchase agreements. And then you can see it's got the forms that I added here. And then we need to add recipients to the envelope. So who is going to receive this for signature? So you're going to click the add recipient dropdown, and you're going to select the option that says pre-tagged roles. If you don't select pre-tagged roles when you're using our forms or templates, then you are going to need to drag and drop, signature boxes and text boxes yourself. If you choose the pre-tagged roles, then those boxes will automatically be there for you. So you won't need to add them for each individual person. So once you click pre-tagged roles, it's going to open up this box where you can select the roles that are applicable to your transaction. So it's got buyer 1, buyer 2, buyer agent, seller 1, etc., all the way through landlord and tenant. So in this case, all we really need is our buyer 1, and our buyer agent, which is ourselves. I don't think we need any other roles here. So once you have the roles checked off, if you use this recipient, this drop down under recipient here where it says select, you'll be able to select the individual that fills that role. So our buyer 1 was Crash Bandicoot, and our buyer agent is myself. So I will select me from the drop down, and once you have added all that, you click the add selected at the bottom left, and it's going to add those roles here. My client, Crash Bandicoot, does not have an email address just because I didn't add one as a contact. Again, he would if he had an email in the details page, which goes from contacts. So I'm just going to add my personal email, and then it auto-filled in myself and my email, so that's good. The left-hand side here, these numbers, they both say 1 right now, represent the order in which these people are going to receive the documents. So currently, since both are listed as 1, both myself and my client will receive the documents at the same time for signature. Normally, we set it up so that the agent receives it after your clients, essentially. So in this case, I would make myself 2 and leave my client as 1. So this means that my client will receive these documents first, they'll need to sign or fill out anything they need to do. And once they're done signing and filling out boxes, then it will come to me for my signature, and I'll be able to see what they filled out or signed or anything like that. If you do it both at the same time, you may be signing a document that your client hasn't signed yet, in which case your client may have made a mistake. So it's always better to just put yourself at the end after your clients have signed the document. And then down here is the email subject and email message. So this is what's going to pop up in their email. It's going to say, please DocuSign. And then this is the message once they open the email. You can say, please. Thank you. Whatever it is you want to say to your clients or to the recipients of this envelope. So once you've done that, you're going to click the next button, which is going to bring you to the page with signature fields and text boxes so that you can review it and make sure everything looks good before sending it out to your client. Okay, so now it's going to open up all of the documents for me, and it's going to put fields for all of the recipients, whether they need to sign or initial or date or whatever. And if you look at the top left at this drop-down box, it will tell you which recipient is assigned to which color. So in this case, my client, Crash Bandicoot, is assigned to anything that's yellow, and me as the agent, I'm assigned to anything that's blue. So as you are going down this document here, you see boxes, and these yellow boxes are for my client to sign and date, and these blue boxes are for me to sign and date. You may notice that some of the boxes are a little bit skewed. They're not necessarily exactly on the line. You can adjust these yourself. You can just select it and drag it. I like to just move them down a little bit so that they're on the appropriate lines. That's it for the agency disclosure. You can review, this is the purchase agreement. It's got all the information that I added to the details section. Appears as text here. And this is a spot for my buyer to initial, and I'll just move it down a little bit because it's a little off-centered. That down a little bit. Okay, that's good.
Sam, excuse me.
Mhm.
I'm sorry to keep nagging you. At what time do you add Rick's signature here? As a
So on these documents, because these are buyer side documents, these documents don't require Rick's signature. On the previous page where you were adding recipients,
yeah.
I'll actually show you. Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Thank you.
And I'll go back and I will add a Rick. So change that. I'm going to go back. If I need to add a recipient that I forgot, or maybe add a document to this envelope, you just click back and it'll bring you to the previous page. They prefer if you use the back button then down there rather than using the back button on your browser, just in case it causes some sort of weird error. Okay, so here I am. I'm back here. So we're going to just say that I needed Rick's signatures on these documents as well. So in this case, Rick or the broker is not a specific role on the details page. So there is not going to be a role for him here. So in this case, I would just add Rick as an email address. And I can put in Rick's name, email. And Rick always signs last, so make sure that Rick gets the documents after everybody else has signed. So that goes to your exclusive right to sells, your clients will sign it, then you'll sign it, then Rick as the broker will sign it last. So in this case, we would make Rick number 3. Some of the documents may have specific roles for a listing broker, in which case you can select that and then just add Rick here. But because Rick doesn't have a role, we'll just add him to this document and go next. And so if you added somebody that wasn't a pre-tagged role, they're not going to have any boxes automatically pop up, in which case you will need to add a box for them. So I'll go to my exclusive right, even though Rick doesn't normally sign a buyer's exclusive right, we're just going to pretend he has to. So if you change this drop down, now you can see Rick is added as purple. So we're going to select Rick, and all of these fields here have now changed to purple, and I can use any of these fields I want and add them to the document. So if there's a signature field, like in this case for Rick, that's not here, I can just drag and drop a signature field and a date field. And then once I send this out, Rick will get this last, and he'll sign and date on these lines here. So everything looks pretty good. So once everything's set, all the boxes are in the right spot, everything looks the way it should be, you can go ahead and send it out by clicking the send button, which is up here on the top right, or it's also in the bottom right. So here you can click the send button. And once you click send, it sends out the documents, and then it brings you to the envelopes page of your room. So here it brought me to the envelopes tab, and you can see we have one envelope in here that says waiting for others, and it gives me the date that it was created, or the last date that it was changed at least. So this says waiting for others. If I click into this envelope, it tells me who my recipients are, my buyer one, Crash Bandicoot, and it's currently with him. So it says current, that's the person it's currently with. And who's waiting is myself and Rick. So we won't receive this document until the buyer has signed, and then it'll move to me. And then once I've signed, it'll then move to Rick. And this will update as it moves from person to person. So this will say maybe signed, and then this person will say current, and just Rick will say waiting, etc. Once a document has been fully signed, or once an envelope, I should say, has been fully signed, it will come back here, and this will change to a green bar, and it will say completed instead of waiting for others. And then those signed documents will actually move over to the documents tab here. And it will say, so it'll look like similar to this, but instead of saying form with a blue bar, it'll say signed with a green bar. And so you'll know that that's the signed version. These forms won't ever disappear. These will be here for you to make changes as many times as you need to. So if there's a change in sales price maybe, and you need to resend out the purchase agreement to your client, you would just be able to re-click in here and change the sales price without having to fill out all the information again. And then send it, and you'll get another signed copy added here. So once you have documents signed, I know I don't have them signed because I didn't actually go to my email to sign them, and you need to upload them to command. You're going to go back to your command tab, which should always still be open up top. And you're going to go to your list here, and you're going to find the items that you need to upload and attach them. So we have an exclusive right to represent the buyer. So here's my exclusive right. So the right of that item, it's got an add a file button. So I'm going to click on that.
DocuSign.
And then I am going to select the DocuSign option instead of manual. And it's going to give me a list of all of the documents that are in the room that I was just in, the DocuSign room. So I only have these 3 documents, so these are the 3 that popped up. If you have a signed version of a form, you will have maybe 2 versions of exclusive rights to represent, and one will say -signed at the end of it, and you know that that's the signed version. So that's the one you would select. I don't have that, so I'm just going to select this one, exclusive right, and I click assign. And it attaches that item here. And I can then open up that item and review it. And then I can move on to the next item, agency disclosure, same thing. I would attach that here. If there's anything else here, checking out a file, DocuSign, agency disclosure. Now, if you have a document that was not signed through DocuSign, maybe you got a wet signature on it, maybe it was a PDF that was sent to you from the other agent, but it's fully signed, you need to upload it. If you use the add a file button and then leave it on manual, you can browse your computer and search for any document that you have saved to your computer and upload it there. Do that. So you also have like a contract folder, and I have a purchase agreement. So I'm just going to quickly add that. Purchase, sign. No, added it. So now I've added the documents that I need to add, and I want to submit this to the office for review. So submit to my MCA. So in order to do that, you're going to click the Submit to MC button towards the top right. You click that, and it asks you, are you sure you want to submit this for review? And you click Submit. Now, each of these folders, consultation, under contracts, and again, you don't really need close, but the close folder would be submitted separately. So here you can see under contract was submitted, but my consultation folder is still open. So I also want to submit this folder for review as well. So just submit to MC and submit. And now you can see these are submitted. So my MCA will get them in order to review them and let me know if there's anything wrong, if there's a missing signature or a missing document. They'll review and let me know any issues with the opportunity. So that's the basics of that. I did want to go back and touch on what Stephen asked about the COVID disclosures. So I'm going to go back to DocuSign. And the COVID disclosures and the wire fraud disclosures are just too recent of forms, but Keller Williams do have templated them like they did these forms here. So those forms, the office is templated for you, and they're just found in a slightly different area. So in order to get to those forms, the COVID disclosure and the wire fraud advisory, you want to go to an envelope section here, and you want to create an envelope. And I advise that you separate the documents that are pulled from the libraries in the documents tab and the ones that are in the templates, because they may not have the exact same recipients, in which case your clients may receive the documents twice. It becomes a bit of a hassle. That's why I suggest that you just create a separate envelope with documents that are from the shared templates versus the DocuSign forms. So once you're here in envelopes, you can create a new envelope. It's going to bring you to the page we were on before, where we added recipients and all that. But here, there's no documents yet added to the room. So in order to find those disclosures, you can go to the Use a Template option here under Add Documents to Envelope. And it'll pop up with this box. And you want to go to the option on the left that says Shared with Me. And again, this applies to the COVID disclosures and the wire fraud advisory. This also applies to Greenwich MLS forms. We do not have access to the Greenwich MLS forms in the libraries to be auto-filled. So those forms can be found here. So once you do Share with Me, this will give you a list of all the documents that the office has created and shared with the agents. The header on the documents, so this one says purchase. Those are documents that you need for a buy-side transaction. SF would be for a single family listing. I think it would say condo, New York. MF for multifamily, landlord. GR is Greenwich, etc. Just as a way to kind of narrow down documents. If you are looking for the COVID disclosures, I think it's property showing. Yeah, so the property showing consent form is the most recent version of the form that Rick created. So I'm going to select that one, and then I'll search for the wire this wire scam advisory is ours. I don't know what this is. This came from another market center. They shared it with our market center for some reason, but we want the one that Rick created. So it's the one that starts with AD, which is additional documents, dash wire scam advisory. So I'll add that. And then I'm going to add those two selected forms to my envelope. Okay, so here they popped up. And now I have to add recipients to the envelope. And you're going to do the same thing you did before. You're going to do pre-tagged roles. And you are going to select the roles that apply. So I'll do buyer 1, buyer's agent, select the individual from the dropdown, and add them as recipients. So this pretty much stays the same as before, it's just where you're grabbing the document from. Sometimes you're grabbing it from the library for Greenwich forms and the COVID and wire forms, you're going to grab them from the shared templates. Just going to go next. And unlike with the forms that we pulled from the document section, none of the information is going to pre-fill on the shared template. So the boxes will be there, but there will not be any pre-filled information. You would need to fill out the information here on the actual, in the actual room, in the envelope. So we have the wire scam advisory. I don't know if there's really anything that needs to get filled out here. There's not, it's just a signature for my client. Physical showing, same thing with physical showing. So there's nothing here that needs to be filled out. I know some of the Greenwich forms may have boxes that need to be filled out with property addresses and people's names. You would need to fill those out manually in this section before sending it out, instead of in the documents section of the room. So this looks good, everything's here, and you would just send these out, same thing as you did the other ones, and your client will get the envelope with these documents. So now my client has two different emails telling them to sign two different sets of forms. One of them is the representation docs in the purchase agreement. The other one is the wire and COVID disclosures. And the same thing, once those documents are fully signed, they will come back to your documents section as signed documents, and you can add them to DocuSign the same way you added the other forms. If there is any item or any form that you want to upload to your MCA for review that maybe doesn't have its own specific item on one of these lists, if that happens, you can use this function up here, the Add Item button, to add your own document. Miscellaneous doc, makes you choose a document type. There is an option for other at the very bottom. It's usually the one that I use for things that don't really fall into any of these particular categories. And then you can just manually find the document you want to find and upload it. And then you would save it. If you need to say anything to your MCA, maybe I need to let them know something specific about a form, you can use the Add Comment button here. So you click this and it opens up a chat window between you and the compliance department. So you can mention people. So if you click the @ symbol, it will give you options. Normally for you guys, I think there would be 3. It would be myself, Adonis, and Lisa, who you can mention specifically in a message. And then you can type whatever it is you need to type. Add reply. If you do not click the @ symbol and mention somebody, your text will still appear here, but there won't be a notification associated with it. So if you just type this without the @ Lisa Katz, your message would appear, but Lisa wouldn't get a notification that you sent a message. So just add that. And anything she writes as well will come back here. And if she uses the same whatever your name is, you'll get a notification here in this bell icon. The only way you can really tell is by this little red dot here that you have a notification. You click on that. She's probably going by the bank. Saw that one. So I already saw those themselves. You can dismiss them, but that's where you would find any messages or any notifications about messages on your transactions. So you always want to make sure you're paying attention to this bell icon and review your notifications, because that will also show if something's been rejected or returned and needs correcting. So you definitely want to take a look at that. I think those are pretty much the basics of creating opportunity and DocuSign. Does anybody have any specific questions?
Sam, this is Lydia.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi, thank you. Quick question. If you wanted to add documents that don't necessarily go to you and Lisa, like things you want to retain with the file or as part of the file, like a survey or something, would that best be under add custom folder, or where would that?
That would be, yes, that would be the best place to put things that don't really need to be reviewed by the MCA department, but that's something that you want to keep, all together on this file. So in that case, you can just add a new custom folder.
Okay.
Miscellaneous documents. Create a folder. Again, you can call it whatever you want. And then here you can add documents to this section. You can you can pull them if they were signed in DocuSign. You can pull them from your computer. You can also, when you are, adding things to your actual checklist, there's actually an option to pull something directly from the custom folders. If you had it in the folder and you wanted to then add it for review, you can just pull it from the custom folder. I don't have anything there, but any documents I have would appear.
Got it.
But yes, that would be where you would put anything miscellaneous that doesn't need to be reviewed by the Market Center. Because as you can see, you can't submit these custom folders for review.
Okay. Okay.
So there's no way for us to, we can view them, but you're not submitting them to us. So we could always go to your opportunity and take a look, but they're not submitted to us, so they don't pop up on our radar to be reviewed. But yeah, you can add custom folders whenever you'd like.
Okay, and so this is actually the digital area where all the information for your transaction in terms of documents resides. Is that correct? Like in the future, if I wanted to go back to a record and see it, I would come in here to see it?
Yeah, you can go back to your opportunity and you can look at your documents. So anything you submitted obviously would be up here. Any of your miscellaneous documents you would have here. Details has information about the detail, the property, etc. Once we get, moving towards the future, towards the green sheets replacements, you'll be using offers and commissions. For now, you don't need to worry about those. You can just continue using green sheets, but all of this will be kind of in one spot for you.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any other questions?
I do, Sam. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just gonna be clear. So let's say once I have the, let's say the initial representation documents ready, so do I have to submit it to MC? That's what you meant, and then the same thing under contract and enclosed?
So you're going to submit documents for a buyer side transaction. You're going to most likely be submitting your documents within 3 days of your accepted offer. When you have a listing, you're going to want to submit your representation docs with your signed listing agreement, generally within 3 days of getting the listing. So that's when you would submit that information. And that's why there's also separate folders. So the listing representation documents will be for a listing in this folder, which I think just says listed instead of consultation. And then you could just submit this folder. And then once you have an accepted offer, and you're adding a contract and disclosures and those things, you can add them, and then you can submit this folder afterwards. So listing within 3 days of getting the listing, you should have the signed contract and representation docs uploaded, and then you should also submit documents within 3 days of an accepted offer, both on the listing side and on the buy side.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Steven?
Just very quickly, I'm on the page where you're putting in the bubbles for signatures and dates and everything. If
Uh-huh.
if I don't send it, does that save?
Yes, it should. So you want to go back from the page where you're adding the signatures to the page where you add recipients, and then there should be an option to save and close. In which case it will save that envelope as a draft
Okay.
with all the bubbles and whatnot that you would put in. It should save it at that moment. But you want to make sure you do go back to the page and then go to recipients. Don't just close the window because then it won't save it.
Yeah, that's what I was doing wrong. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any other quick questions? All right, I will take that as a no. So I am going to end this.
Thank you, sir.
You guys can always reach out to me if you have questions. I'm sure most of you have my email and my phone number. So you can text me or email me or however you want to get in contact with a question, and I'll try and answer it as soon as I can. And that's about it.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you,
You're
Sam.
welcome.
Thank you, Sam.
You're welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good day, guys.
Bye.